Good evening, everybody. It is the first week of June, so I thought it would be a good time for a garden tour. My old Alabama gardening onion experiment is still struggling along there. The fava beans are finished, and so is the garlic, so I put in some squash here. It's a butternut variety. And here's my perpetual spinach. It is in a self-watering container. Hopefully it does really well and really takes off. I've been able to have one harvest of perpetual spinach, but that's it so far, so I'm really hoping it takes off and gets down to growing. Carrots are coming along nicely, as are the beets. I actually harvested a lot of beet greens and had a really delicious meal of beet greens today. So the leaves don't look as full as they normally do. If you do not eat beet greens, I highly recommend it. They're so good. My little artichokes greening up. And then these two guys that went to seed, I still haven't yanked them out. I've just been giving the leaves still don't taste too bitter, so I've still been eating them. And then my perennial guy is doing really well. Turnips, I had a harvest of turnip greens. They were good. I really could do another one now. The spinach bolted. We had a really increase in the heat, so I should pull it up and replant something there. But I'm waiting on a perpetual spinach seed packet I've got coming, because this just doesn't hold up to the heat. Right. And when I was harvesting beet greens today, I also yanked some of the beets in here, so I do have a bare patch. And I had reseeded something in here. Yep, two somethings. Very nicely coming up. Somebody stole my tags. So they were something in the lettuce family. I just don't know what. Rutabagas kind of struggling along. They didn't like being transplanted. That's a no. I'll never transplant rutabagas again. They need to be direct seeded. Little cabbages are doing good. Tomatoes, somebody needs staked up. So the tomatoes are starting to grow up. Most of them are growing up on their own and don't need staked, but this guy and this guy for some reason were very floppy. Might be that type of tomato they were. Everything else is kind of growing their own way up. Trellis. I've never had a white tomato before. This guy is by far the most vigorous of the growers so far. And he has some blossoms on him, so might be the first tomato this season. We'll have to see. Alright, let's see what else we have over here. Strawberries on the mound here are doing really well. I am going to have to dig I don't know, looks like, got like 8, I think, blackberries to dig up and give away. So I'd already dug and given away so many this year, but still haven't gotten all the roots out of here. So they're all along. What I decided was it was just too crowded to have like the aronia berry and the blueberry and the cherries. Oh, hi, got my bay leaf tree. He's doing pretty good. But I thought it was too crowded, so I tried to take all these blackberries out, but boy, the smallest little root, and they sure do come back. This grew out of my rootstock. The Asian persimmon is now an American persimmon and is really too big for this space. I'm going to let him get a little bigger and more established, and then I'm going to try to transplant him, I guess. I'm afraid I'll kill him. Alright, so what else do we have going on here? I have okra. Now some of these guys failed, so I had to replant from seeds. So where you see a weird gap, it's because I just put in seeds again yesterday to try to replant. Then I have the blackberries that I transplanted are right there. And then beyond them is a crop of peas. Here are my beans, the bush beans, looking pretty good. A little bit of spinach in the center. I was trying to shade it to keep it from bolting, but it didn't really work. It's still bolting. Potatoes, leeks, and onions. Over here, I have a few celeriac. I've never grown that before, so I'm giving that a try. The Bok Choy I haven't harvested yet. They're coming on nicely. Salad greens. I put diatomaceous earth on this. That's one of the few things I do use something on. It is Chinese cabbage, and it gets bit up so bad without it. You see it's starting to head up. Kale, calendula that came back from seeds that were dropped last year. Another little patch of peas, and again, reseeding. This is a giant red mustard, so a green that'll do okay for a while in the summer heat. And a little tiny patch of beets, and then I've put in my summer beans and peas. So garbanzo beans, lima beans, and zipper cream peas are all in here, and then here. Those are perennial kale cuttings I took. They seem to be rooting, so I might be able to share perennial kale this year with people. And I've got my little escape garlics are coming back. Another set of lettuce I put in, and it did not end up coming up yet. Fingers crossed. A little hot pepper. And then perennial onions and perennial garlics I've got over here. So more celeriac in here. It is not doing the greatest, unfortunately. I didn't get it mulched in time, I don't think, with the heat, so it got a little cross, but a couple of them did survive. So we'll see how that goes. And my mulberries are not blooming, and everyone's talking about their mulberries, and I'm wondering if I'm going to have any this year, because I have no blooms at all. High bush cranberry. Some of them are blooming, but I wouldn't imagine I'll get any fruit. They're too small. Figs. I don't think I'll get any fruit from this year. They're babies. These are my latest starts on my tomatoes. I just had a few that I started last minute in the greenhouse. So this is if you can't get cattle panels back to your house because your car is a midget, this is what I use. I either use welded wire or even chicken wire, and I have to add the second panel of the chicken wire down here. But unless you have something crazy heavy, it usually holds up fine. So this is my faux cattle panel trellising. Someday I will have a big enough car to bring it home. Right? This is just starting to come up. It is a giant noble spinach. It is supposed to be able to handle the heat a little bit. We'll see. And then another set of peppers. This is the home of a ridiculous sunflower. I don't have the heart to take him up, but it's silly for him to be going in there. A lot of broccoli babies. My kale, which it's really nice to have a little bit of kale undercover just to not have it all messed up really bad. A couple slugs get on it, but I haven't seen any cabbage worms, so it's nice and clean. And then this is my first crop of carrots I put in. I've been harvesting for the bunnies, and they are really enjoying them. So my perennial kales are coming back and ready to harvest again, but I've had so many other things I haven't gotten around to it. I have had a little bit of pest pressure. Somebody furry who also likes to catch mice has been stealing all of my faux cabbage moth butterflies that I had on these. They were working really good, but not if your cat steals them to play with. All right, let's see. The potatoes, my other patch of potatoes, still not ready to harvest. These were my tomatoes that were hit so hard by the frost and seemed like they were definitely goners. As you can see, they're coming back okay. And those are more tomatoes from seed. And the rhubarb I moved at the worst possible time still came back and looks good. It's fine. This is actually my sweet potato slip mound for replacing some of the sweet potatoes that died. I harvested all the slips that were growing, and so I'm waiting for more to come out. And this, I don't know. I don't think it's gonna work. Everyone always says that you can just take a cutting, stick it in the ground, and water it. So these were Cherokee purple tomatoes. I don't think it's working for me. They look a little cross. I'm gonna water them in and see if that helps. My other longevity spinach, my Alpine Strawberries really spreading out. I think they'll fill in this whole thing. That's very exciting. This is a gap. I haven't put anything here, but I have a couple of tomatoes that I did from seed. These are the purple Russian tomatoes. They are really good for salsas and things like that. So I usually put a couple in. So I've got 3 of them. And then I already harvested a pepper off of this little overachiever here. Let's see. My clearance peach that I got last year. Hopefully I remember to edit out all the mosquitoes I smacked. Anyway, the clearance peach that I got on clearance last year is got fruit on it. I can't believe it. My dahlia is starting, guys. Came back on its own over winter, zone 7, not supposed to happen. And of course, borage always comes back. You can never get rid of it once you have it, but I don't want to. My baby eggplants. My corn is doing well, sweet corn. Hopefully better than last year. I think I may come through once it starts getting tassels and make sure, like, hand pollinate a bunch of stuff, because last year I felt like some of my cobs weren't as full as I had wanted them. There's the parent Cherokee purple. So I just had trimmed off the bottom to get it off the ground a little bit and keep disease down, because last year I had a Cherokee purple and I had a terrible time with it. But I don't think those little cuttings are going to take. This year's chard coming up, looking good. I can almost harvest some, I think. And this is my scarlet kale. Red Russian kale is starting to come up. I may have to reseed because it's pretty sporadic germination, but you can see them through here. That one came up first, really good, and then the rest are kind of piddling along. And then my cabbages. Baby blueberries. Eucalyptus. Hopefully when it gets a little better, it will start doing its job. It's supposed to keep down mosquitoes. It is very damp back right in the edge of the woods, and then my neighbor has some ponds and a pool. I think the pool's empty, but I filled it with rainwater, so I've got a lot of mosquitoes back here. There's from seed, I put in some fresh parsley. And this is my Caitlin Thomas apple tree from seed. It'll probably be a crab apple. Pole bean. Random lettuce that I keep chopping down and it keeps coming back. And you can see, if you have pole beans that get eaten off or whatever, just replant. It's kind of gives you succession planting anyway. It's fine. So anytime I see a gap, I just come back in with a couple more seeds and replant. Squash bug. And he got away. Uh-oh. That's never a good sign. Like I said, I'm pretty organic, so squash bugs can kill a critter pretty fast. One thing I have been trying this year, I heard that when they talk about putting squash in a mound, it's potentially not a way to grow, that it was lost in translation from our ancestors, and you're actually supposed to mound your squash after they come up to protect them. So I've been trying that this year. We'll see how it goes. But if the squash bugs don't get them before I get to enjoy some, it looks like we're about to have flowers coming out, and we will be having some squash shortly. I did overplant this, by the way. In case you were wondering, I really overplanted it. I'm not really worried about it, because then I'm hoping one or two of them survive. Dahlia came up on her own. My spinach that's definitely bolted. Oh, I have a weed there, but I also have my 3 little teeny tiny delicate tissue culture sweet potatoes that I got because I wanted these varieties, and I'm going to actually keep a seed potato from this variety or 2 and hopefully have more. So I had mentioned before that this first set of sweet potatoes did really poorly. Some of them have come back, I think about a third, and then my other set that I got last, almost all of them have survived and are doing okay, so that was good. So they came a couple weeks later and they're actually looking better. Except for these guys, they're getting eaten up by slugs. So the rest of these dahlias all came back on their own. And they're about to bloom. And here I planted some giant, I can't read my own writing, but they're a giant radish. Radishes are a good food for bunnies. So I don't like radishes myself. I'll eat the first one of spring because it's exciting. I produce something, and then the rest of them always go to the bunnies and the chickens. And then my bananas, got them in the greenhouse, the mini greenhouse. I don't know if I'll keep them in here, and then I need to replant my celeriac, and my celery needs to go out. And these guys, I think I mentioned before, this is my favorite kind of arugula, and I'm just collecting seeds. So they're almost ready to harvest. They're getting there. They're getting little pods. Best fertilizer in the world. The bunnies repay me for their carrots and radishes. So this is, I just keep it where it can be dry, and whenever anyone seems like they need a little boost, they get a little like trowel full of bunny manure. This smells so good. I wish you guys could smell it. The honeysuckle is just, oh, it smells so good. I have to keep it whacked back because it's always trying to take over, but it's worth the struggle. So I don't even plant this. Not only is it pretty shaded because the trees are up there. I mean, it would get enough sun when it comes across this way that I could potentially grow some things, but I don't want to fight the honeysuckle because I love it. So I just leave this little border, and you know, it brings in bees and pollinators, so it's a win-win. They've been told to go to bed and they're ignoring me. They're usually pretty good at it, but I went out a little bit early to do the video of the garden, and they know it's earlier than normal, so they're ignoring me. All ducks go to bed. Taking the long way around, hoping they can avoid me. They're like bad children. This is Bob. Bob, the beautiful. Likes to bite his mother, don't you, Bob? All ducks go to bed. Bed. Debating whether they should listen to me. Jane Pond went in. Boys went in. Puddle duck, go to bed. Go to bed. All ducks go to bed, puddle duck. Move, little dude. I haven't named the two boys yet because I'm probably only going to keep one. So I didn't want to get too attached, but I'll name the one I keep. Good ducks. Good ducks. All ducks go to bed. Good ducks. Now that the duckies are going to bed, it's time for me to go in as well. I hope you all have a blessed evening, and I hope you find time to garden and enjoy the world around you as you go about your life. Have a blessed day.